That's all right. Right. Did you hear from the county? Is she gonna be here? You know, for the meeting? Well, okay. Yeah. So. Yeah. I don't think Kathy is, I think she might have been. Oh, that's right. She did tell us that. Did she write down the TV? You just left her there? Yeah, that's fine. She did say she wouldn't be at the next meeting. I was with you. Yeah. I'm your way. I'm always on your way.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Which corner of 1800?
I'm on the southwest school.
Okay.
Except
Red brick house, right? On down the road from the. First. Kitty corner of the water tower. Okay, but they actually. And it's to the state.
Okay.
Welcome everybody out to the Weber County Planning Commission. We're consolidated into one commission now. Used to be the Western Weber Planning County, Western Weber County Planning Commission, but new verbiage. So please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Looks like we have everyone here except for Commissioner Hontz. She's excused. And given the fact that we've created, or the county has created one planning commission, just so that we get an idea of how that transpired and just a bit of an explanation. Liam, could you kind of fill us in on all that happened with that?
Yeah, absolutely, gladly. This is the very first meeting of the Weber Planning Commission. Like you said, Chair, it used to be that there was an Ogden Valley Planning Commission and a Western Weber Planning Commission. Under state law, the default is one planning commission for the entire county. However, state law does allow the county, in the sole discretion of the legislative body, which is the county commissioners, to decide whether it's beneficial to the county at any point in time to establish more than one planning commission. Historically, for the past while, Weber County has opted to have two planning commissions. State law also gives the legislative body, the county commission, complete discretion at any point in time that they feel it is necessary to dissolve both planning commissions and have one planning commission, which is the default again for the entire county. In November, the county commissioners acted on an ordinance to do exactly that. They dissolved the Ogden Valley Planning Commission and the Western Weber Planning Commission and decided to go with one Weber County Commission. And in doing that, the important thing to know is that the jurisdiction and the authority of what is now this body, the Western or the Weber Planning Commission, it's still hard for me to get rid of that word Western. The Weber Planning Commission now has the same authority and covers the jurisdiction which was previously held by both planning commissions. So you in your new role now have authority, and your jurisdiction is the entire unincorporated county. Whether that's Upper Valley or Western Weber, it falls to you in your authority and your jurisdiction. The commissioners did that last month. That was enacted. It was effective December 3rd. That went into effect. And so that's why we were having the very first meeting of this body. So your role now, and everybody has seen on the agenda, there are items which apply to the Upper Valley and to Western Weber, and that is because you have been delegated with the authority to make a recommendation to the county commissioners for both geographical areas. And that will continue henceforth until the county commissioners ever decide to undo that and make a change. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for any of you. But this is a good place and time moving forward to have one planning commission, and you're all a part of it. So well done.
And just another word on that. The process was the same as far as the applications had to be submitted to the county for consideration. It was open to the public for anyone and everyone to participate as long as they met the criteria. And I know that that standard process took place as it normally would, even if there was just one vacancy on the commission. So that's my 2 cents worth. Commissioners, any questions or concerns or comments about that?
Just one, maybe in addition, that's how we ended up with a new commissioner, correct? Because of that process?
Well, we didn't end up with a new commissioner because of that process. I think we
had one individual who didn't, we had one vacancy.
Yeah.
Basically, one individual did not reapply. Yes. So
We had 8 people who applied for that. Actually 9, excuse me. And we extended the notice because we wanted to have some more representation from the folks up in the Powder Mountain and Snow Basin area. And so we extended that out longer, but no one applied. And probably the reason why they didn't apply is because you have to be a registered voter of Weber County in order to be on a planning commission. And so there's not a lot of those in those areas. So we appreciate your willingness to serve. We know that this takes a lot of time and effort away from your families. So thank you for your willingness to serve and to help make an incorporated Weber County a better place for our residents.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, William.
Yep.
Commissioners, anything else to add? Okay. Because of the unification or the combined planning commission, that leads us to the first item on our agenda tonight. And that means that for this meeting, we will need to elect a new chair and vice chair. So, Director Grover, any comments on that?
No, this will just be for this meeting only. And then at the start of the year, we'll elect a chair and vice chair for the next year, 2026. So it may seem kind of redundant that we do this in January, but historically, and that's the rules of order, is that we do that at the beginning of the year. So this will just be for this meeting only.
Thank you, Director. So based on that, Commissioners, if you don't have any comments or concerns about that, I'll ask for a motion for the chair.
A motion or a nomination?
Yeah, how do we?
Nomination.
Okay,
I'd like to nominate Andrew Froerer as chair and Casey Neville as co-chair, correct?
Vice Chair.
Vice chair, thank you. Vice chair for this meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. I already have a second. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Do we have to do a roll call on this one?
You can just do just a regular vote.
Can we have some discussion first? No?
No.
I'm kidding. You can handle it.
I was gonna nominate Janet.
Oh, sorry.
All right, having had a motion and a second on election of chair and vice chair for this meeting only. All in favor of the nomination of Chair Andrew Favero and Vice Chair Casey Novell, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Man, you're stuck with me again, at least for today. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the minutes for September 23rd, October 14th, and November 18th. Commissioners, any comments, questions, or concerns? I didn't see any problems, but my eyes are getting old.
Sure, I didn't see any issues with it. I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Consent items, item number 3 on our agenda. First item, 3.1 CUP 2025-26, request for approval of conditional use permit for expansion and improvement of Powder Mountain Sewer Lagoon site. Project is located in the forest F5 zone of approximately 4,000 east, 5,100 north in Eden. It looks like, I believe the applicant is here and our staff presenter is Tammy.
Chair, typically on consent items, this is something that you can just approve without any presentations. If you want to pull it from consent, then Tammy, or you can ask the applicant questions on this, but if you feel good about it, you can just approve it with just a motion.
Okay, commissioners?
I just want to know if anybody.
It's a consent item. We're not, there won't be any comments on that. So, okay, commissioners, any questions or concerns to pull? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve CUP 2025-26.
A motion that we approve item 3.1 CUP 2025-2026.
I need a second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 4, legislative item 4.1 ZDA 2025-12. A request from the Froerer Family Investment for a public hearing, discussion, and possible recommendation regarding the development agreement to preserve development rights, timing of the project, development, and overall project layout for approximately 19.32 acres located at approximately 700 south, 7900 east in Eden. Director Grover.
Thank you, Chair. As you review this, you're just going to be making a recommendation to the legislative body. In this case, it would be the county commission. You'll be looking for compliance with the general plan and those requirements associated with that, and compatibility with the surrounding areas. Also, as you review this, you'll want to make sure you open and close the public hearing with a motion. This is a time for the public to give their comments and address any concerns that they may have on this item. The applicant will present first, and then after that, Tammy is the staff presenter, and she'll explain how it is or does not meeting code.
Okay, very good. Tammy, did you want to give us, or are we going to start with the public
Yeah,
hearing?
no, don't start with the public hearing. Let's have the applicant.
Yeah. Oh, the
come
applicant.
up
I apologize. You mentioned
and
that,
just,
Director.
explain what they're requesting.
Okay.
And then after the applicant presents, then Tammy will present.
Okay. Looks like we have Mr. Ryan Froerer representing.
So I'm actually Mason Froerer, not Ryan. Ryan
Oh,
couldn't
okay.
make it.
We'll
So I'm
make the
taking his
correction.
spot.
We would have never known.
Yeah, well, I'm Ryan today then.
Go ahead and give us your name and your city for the record.
Mason Gage Froerer. That would be Pleasant View.
Very good. Go ahead and let us know what you want to do there.
All right. Here to respectfully request approval for the development agreement and recordation on 19.32 3 acres without the typical phasing timelines. While preserving the 6 existing development rights already attached to the property, this request doesn't add new density nor create new impacts. It simply allows me to keep the rights I already have and use them responsibly when the timing is right. For me, this isn't just a technical land use matter. This is about protecting my future, and not only my future, but my future children's future. I've lived in this valley for the majority of my life. The valley is home. It's where my values were shaped, where my roots are, and where I hope to raise my own family. Allowing this flexibility gives me the ability to plan for long-term family needs rather than being forced into rigid timelines that may not reflect economic realities or what's best for the land. It ensures that the opportunities this property already holds can one day benefit my children and allow them to build their lives in the same wonderful place that shaped mine. What I'm asking for is simply the chance to protect what I already have, to plan responsibly, and to secure a future that keeps my family connected to this community. I care deeply about this valley, and I want my kids to grow up with the same sense of home and belonging that I've been blessed with. Approving this request helps me make that possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commissioners? Tammy, go ahead.
Okay, good evening, commissioners. I think much was said by the Froerer representative, but I'll go through a brief presentation for this. This is a request for a development agreement in order to memorialize development rights and to extend phasing to be able to develop. So typically with subdivisions, there are some pretty hard and fast deadlines as far as between preliminary approval and final approval and recording, and then recording successive phases. For a phase development, the developer has 1 year to record each successive phase. This applicant has indicated that given the nature of ownership of this, they're looking for some extended timelines. And so I'm going to go through this here briefly with you. This is the property in question. It sits on 19.32 acres in the AV3 zone. The applicant currently is entitled to 6 lots. This proposal includes a conceptual plan that would memorialize 6 development rights, as well as a 60-foot wide right-of-way to the east. This is the concept plan the applicant has submitted. Each of these lots meets the minimum of 150 feet of width along a public right-of-way, as well as 3 acres in area. The applicant could come in tomorrow, submit a subdivision application, and this would be approved. Especially with this proposal right here. This is the offering of a 60-foot wide right-of-way. The distance from the nearest road is about 1,000 feet. So it falls within our block length requirements. The only reason it wasn't located a little further north is we have a few scattered houses to the east, and this would be the best location for a continuous route to the nearest 8400 East. This is what the developer is asking for. They're asking for a 10-year term for this development agreement with the option to extend it by 5 years, up to 3 times at the discretion of the developer. And they're offering connectivity to the parcel to the east. It's a pretty simple request. But because of the timeline issue and wanting to memorialize those development rights, this would have to be done through a legislative process. So that is a request before you. Do you have any questions for me? I don't know if that is the next step or if you go to public hearing first.
Questions this time?
We'll probably ask or get some answers after the public hearing.
Okay.
Tammy.
I'll leave this map up just in case that's useful.
That'd be great. Thank you. Okay. Commissioners, Any comments? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Can I get a second? Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now in public hearing. Please come to the podium, state your name and the city you're from, and offer 3 minutes of whatever you want to tell us.
My name is Jan Fulmer. I'm from Maiden High. This is the first time we knew who you were because there was nothing posted on the website as about 10 o'clock this morning. This is not a comment about the item for the hearing. I would just ask, could you please, when you go to say something, talk into the mic? We can't hear. Liam, you came across loud and clear. Rick, a little bit, but would really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll ask for motion to close public hearing. Okay, got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
Chair, do you mind
Commissioner?
if I make a comment?
No, go right ahead. Thank you.
One thing that we did in in the last meeting with the Ogden Valley Planning Commission is we had this item on there just to receive their comments, and they had a favorable recommendation for this. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Okay. Thank you, Director. Also, as I mentioned in the pre-meeting, an item very similar to this was approved by the commission last week in their meeting on Tuesday. So this is not a one-off. Okay. Commissioners, any questions, concerns, or comments on this item?
I have none. I think it matches, like you've said, what we've already have. We're getting connectivity now, and it's just keeping the existing what they already had. So yeah.
I think knowing the previous commission has vetted it and felt good about it is enough for me.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Commissioners, I'll ask for a motion on this item. Item number ZDA 2025-12.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we forward a positive recommendation to the county commission for file number ZDA 2025-12, an application for a development agreement for Froerer Family Investments located at approximately 700 South, 7900 East, Huntsville, Utah, 84317. I do so in support of including the recommended additional considerations and findings from the staff report.
Okay. I have a motion. I'll ask for a second.
Second.
I have a motion in a couple of seconds. All right. So we'll do a roll call on this one, I believe. And I apologize. I just remembered it. Commissioner Lindsay.
Aye.
Man, that was lucky. Commissioner Wickern.
Aye.
Commissioner Novell.
Aye.
Commissioner Andriotti. Commissioner Jed.
Aye.
The chair votes aye as well. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is administrative item number 5.1. Conditional use permit 2025-24. A request for approval of a conditional use permit for an animal clinic located at 3709 East, 3300 North in Eden. Okay, let's see. Looks like we may have, do we have the applicant here tonight? And Director Grover, while we're waiting for that, do you want to give us some comments on this one?
You bet. On administrative item, you'll just be looking at the existing ordinance, making sure it complies with the ordinance. These items you typically do not take public comment on. You can if you so choose, but that's up to you as a planning commission. On this one, we'll have the applicant present, and then Ms. Aydelotte will present.
Thank you, Director. Okay. This is good. We'll get somebody in in the public process at a young age.
You got to start somewhere, don't you? I've never done this before, so apologies if I don't get it right, but thank you all for having us today. I'm Dr. Bo Bradby, and this is Clay. So, essentially my goal is I've already started a vet clinic in Eden, to take care of animals in basically the surrounds. The idea though that I've got, is to have a more sort of ambulatory option so people could haul in horses or cattle. I don't do a lot of horse work at the moment, but I've got pens and arena, stables, and I've got places or even room for small goats, ruminants, things like that, where I could do treatment. At the moment where I am, the area is very, very small where the clinic is, and I don't have any space to be able to do anything with large animals. So if I was able to have something on my own property, then I already have some of the facilities ready to go. So it would just open up a lot more access to people of the valley, essentially. And it would make things easier for me as well. We're obviously ring-ins. We've been here now since April of 2023. We moved to Eden in February of last year. I bought our property there, which the bank currently owns, of course. And we have no plans on going anywhere. I would really like to make this a permanent fixture. There is no other veterinarian at all in the area. There's Mountain Green. There used to be one in Huntsville, and she retired in 2020, I believe, or 2021, Etta Baker. And then Ogden is the next. So, you know, I feel like there's room for growth there. And I'd like to eventually have more than just me, because only one human being can do so much. Even, you know, at the moment, I can provide something that was not there before. So I think that having room to expand would really make a big difference. My shed is not anything glamorous. It would probably provide the same inside space as what I've got now with where I'm practicing. But the outdoor stuff really will make a big difference too. I'm not sure what else I need to, or what else you'd like to know. My plans aren't like super in depth or anything like that. I just wanted to kind of get my name out there and see if there was something we could do here, because obviously sooner is always better with these things.
Commissioners, questions?
I just wanted to know how many animals you expect to treat at a time. How many additional animals would be on your property at a time?
Well, if it's just me, similar to what I'm doing now. So I I only work when the phone rings.
Mm-hmm.
So I go in and meet the clients there. I'm not there 12 hours a day or anything like that. So what I would do, similar to what I'm doing now, is line things up so that people aren't waiting. So, you know, I'd have, if 3 people need to be seen, I'd schedule them an hour and a half each or something like that. So look, I don't anticipate having like a lineup of cars on my place or anything like that. There's not room for that. And if it's just one person, it means I'm like the receptionist, the vet tech. Hopefully that doesn't stay that way for long, because I'm not very good at anything but being a vet. But ideally it would be kind of a 1 at a time, maybe 2 at a time kind of situation. And, you know, right now where I am, I've never had more than one person waiting at a time. And even that's pretty rare.
Would you be keeping the animals when their owners are not with them? Is there that anticipation?
If it's something like a laceration repair or a quill removal, then yes, I do drop-offs so that I can get the procedures done, obviously, especially if there's an anesthesia or a sedated procedure. And then the owners pick them up when they're recovered and ready to go. Overnight stuff, no, unless it's, I would call it concierge veterinary care. So if you had a dog with diabetes, for example, that was really sick, had DKA, and it needed a lot of fluid therapy, blood work run support like that. If I was to do that, it would be one patient and I would stay there with it. So it would be around the clock care, but it would only be one single animal that would be there at a time. But honestly, at the moment, it's not really feasible for me to hospitalize anything. So in terms of noise and things like that, it wouldn't be like dogs barking, boarding kennel kind of situation. It would be one patient, maybe occasionally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I asked because I I asked in the pre-meeting about limiting the number of animals to just the amount you would normally be allowed to have on your property based on its size.
Sure.
And I wanted to know if that would be limiting to your operation or if that would be acceptable to the
I
operation.
think it would be acceptable. I mean, the goal again, and with large animals too, say I had a cow that needed a cesarean or something like that. And I haven't done large animal surgeries like that in a long time. This is me kind of thinking forward, but not really. Like say I had one cow there or one horse there. Sorry about my assistant here. If there's only me, then I really can't handle too much by myself anyway. And my primary goal is gold standard care. So if you're bringing your animal to me, I want to make sure that I could provide the best possible care for that one particular animal. I can't do that if I have multiple animals there at one time anyway.
So you wouldn't see that be limiting to if, like, I think you said horses right now is 1 per half acre. And I'm not sure what cattle is. Is it similar?
It's any large animal, isn't it?
Any large animal is in the same.
Correct.
So, and right now you have 3.7 acres, so limiting to 7 large animals at a time
yeah.
that would help.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah, completely. I have 2 horses there at the moment. So even 5 animals at a time, or 5 large animals at a time. God, if I have 5 large animals there at a time, I'll be like, wow.
Okay. So that wouldn't be limiting to place that.
I don't think so. No. Now, moving forward, if I grow that big, well, then obviously I would outgrow that area anyway, and I would need to look at something much bigger.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Perfect. Commissioners, any other questions? Comments? Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Is that it?
That's it for now.
All right.
Right. Well, thank you. Good evening, commissioners. And a warm welcome to our new member, Hi Lindsay. It'll be great to work with you and I really appreciate the volunteer efforts and the work that the Planning Commission does. So getting on to, I'd like to share a few slides about this very same application, this conditional use permit for an animal clinic up there in the valley. And just kind of a rough location. It's a little bit north of the Nordic area. You can see the rough location is 3300 north. And let's see, what's is the, yeah. Okay, so 3709 east, 3300 north. And the current zoning here is agricultural valley 3. 3-acre minimum. Most of the parcels you can see in this area are, you're agricultural related with some residential, large lot, and you also have some green areas that are, occupied by streams and drainage areas, drainage ways. And so you'll notice on the south edge of this property, there is actually a drainage. And so some of the things that we look at with this review would be not only the proposed use to treat small animals and large animals, but also the area in which the business will be conducted. And so going on to the next slide. Let me exit out and then go back in. Okay, this one is showing the zone boundary, the light green agricultural valley, and just to the south, you have Forest Valley 3. And then if you look at right on the edge of the south edge of the page, you can see the form-based zone for the Nordic ski resort. And here is a close-up image of the property. And the owner has provided, this is a record of survey that also is overlaid on top of imagery. This would be helpful to also show the proposed parking areas from the applicant, as well as where the clinic will be located with those labels. And you can see there's also a label showing the home location. So the reason why this is important to see is that this image will help to show you that there's some screening that already exists on the west side of the property. As you can see, the driveway is a pretty long driveway off of 3300 North. And there's also a large parking area that looks like it could be used for large vehicles with a trailer. And there's potential for 2 additional parking spaces or parking areas. Staff's recommendation would be to have some additional screening on that east edge. And this will help to meet the requirements of code, but also provide a screening buffer between the neighbor to the east and this operation. There will be some interior work done within that building in the clinic, and just to kind of section off different portions of the clinic. And let's see here, some of the considerations that would be applicable in this circumstance in all conditional use permit review would be safety for persons and property, standards related to infrastructure, amenities, and services, standards related to the environment, standards related to the current qualities and characteristics of the surroundings and the surrounding area, and with the general plan. Also standards related to performance, standards generally, and voluntary contributions. And that brings to mind another thing that I'd like to highlight is some of the setbacks that would apply. If the structure is used to house animals, code has minimum setbacks for animals. The location of this structure meets all of those exceeds all those minimums. There's also, as I mentioned, that drainage on the south of the property. And so that this structure is well away from that drainage setback as well. And then for design review, the considerations that the Planning Commission would be looking at would be considerations related to traffic, safety, and congestion, outdoor advertising. At this time, the applicant is not proposing any advertising. However, if at some point in the future the owner would like to have business signage, we can get that reviewed and get a land use permit for that business signage to make sure it meets the code. Things like landscaping, in this case, you are generally dealing with the existing landscaping that is on site, trees, some turf grass, and also the landscaping that would provide a buffer on that west side, as we mentioned. Building and site layout, utility easements, drainage, and other engineering questions. Engineering did not have any comments for this proposal if they are ready to approve it, and also that if there are any prior development concept plan approvals associated with this or a development agreement, which there are not. So that letter F does not apply to this. Going on to the staff's recommendation. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions. And these conditions are in place to help ensure that the business owner is able to obtain the approvals needed for this type of operation. A business license. We want to make sure that the site remains in good visual appearance and is kept in an orderly manner for safety. Also, that no parking takes place along that public road, 3300 North. The owner shall also obtain approval from the Weber Morgan Health Department before the conditional use permit is issued. And the same goes with the fire district. Fire district did have some comments that the owner is going to be working on before we can get the permit issued. Also, the building official, we would like to get some feedback from the building official to see if what type of interior remodels are made and if those interior remodels are fitting with the use. And so also the seventh requirement is related to the parking area. So for all commercial related activity, a hard surface parking is required. It would be hard surface would be considered concrete or asphalt. And that concludes my presentation on this one. Any questions?
Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, Felix, I have one quick question.
Yep.
Is there code for this requiring the screening? You mentioned that. There might be
Yes,
code. Do you know what that-
particularly with the parking area. And so this, if we go back to this right here. So the screening would apply specifically to that parking area.
So it would only be required on what I'm thinking is the west side where there's already trees?
Yeah, well, that's one, yes, so that could be a way to look at it because the parking is kind of shielded by that structure. If the owner chooses to use that larger parking area, then I think screening could apply in that circumstance.
I guess that's my question, because if the land is like Commissioner Wickern described or asked, if it was going to be used basically for the same essential purpose that it is now, as far as the amount of animals, why require them to put in additional screening when it's not really changing?
Mhm.
That would be my question, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. And like I said, I think we are limited on how much screening, but we also want to ensure that the parking area is screened to meet code.
Okay, so I guess the question directly to you, as a planner, would you feel that it would be okay to having no screening on that east side for the parking, where the parking is more towards the west side?
I think so. I think particularly if the parking is relegated to this space.
Okay,
If you can see where my mouse is.
no, but I'm assuming it's the red box.
Yes, so here, this
Yeah.
space.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes.
I don't think a problem with
Okay.
it. Right here.
Okay. Great. Okay. Thank you. That was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, commissioners? Okay. All right, well then, I'll have some discussion on it. So we had submitted to us an email, I presume, and correct me if I'm wrong, Director Grover, from the resident on the east side that's recognized here as 3197 Pine Creek Trust on the picture. And they mentioned that, this kind of an operation is not suitable for a residential area. This is not a residential area. This is zoned agricultural. So, having said that, it's suitable to have this kind of an operation in this area. Now, to get to your question, Commissioner Novell, as far as the screening goes, I think that given the fact that the expectation, which we all know what expectation does and how it performs and doesn't perform all at the same time, that person that the owner of that 3197 Pine Creek Trust didn't anticipate that there would be, a clinic, an animal clinic behind their home. So I think kind of in the inner, to make everybody kind of get along here and keep things moving along as they should, I think that there should be some kind of a screen along there. Even though it may or may not be required or may not be required, I think it's a good idea to put something there. It just will enhance a little bit of privacy and
maybe make those folks feel a little bit better of what's going in behind.
I got a question. How many feet is between the parking area from the road?
The parking area, well, you know, that's a good question. I took measurements and I want to say it's about 160 feet from the road to that. Yeah, from the road to, well, I guess this is not the parking area. So, you know what? We could measure that pretty easily.
I guess when I'm driving here, it looks like it's quite a lot of distance.
Yes.
And what looks like the adjoining property, the first thing, I guess, I don't know.
Yeah,
Right here.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, here.
To get over to the hole and the pool and everything. looks like it's, 150 feet over. 75. I don't know, you know. Little screening may go a long way, but I think that in my mind.
Yes.
My heart kind of felt screening. That's quite a ways over there. And this home on the other side where the barn is,
Mhm.
that's also lags.
So are we talking about this one here where my
Yeah.
arrow is? You know, I can't speak to that. I'm not sure on that one.
Wasn't the map you showed us the entire thing was green or something that?
Was AV.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. They,
I don't know. I can go either way. I don't know. I see a real need for it. I'm trying to put myself in the middle. No problem. That's not right. I don't know.
Yep. I mean, if it's,
I'll have to think about it.
if it's any help, there is an image from Google Street View showing the driveway in the report.
That's the side that has screening already.
anything else, commissioners? All right, I'll ask for motion on this item.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion. That we recommend approval of a conditional use permit for the Brad Beer Animal Clinic, subject to the applicant meeting the following conditions of approval in addition to any conditions of the various reviewing agencies. These conditions would be: the owner shall obtain and maintain a Weaver County business license. The site and all structures shall be kept and maintained for order, safety, and good visual appearance. Parking on the 3300 North Street shoulder is prohibited. The owner shall obtain approval from the Weber Morgan Health Department before a conditional use permit is issued. The Weber Fire District shall approve this proposal before a conditional use permit is issued. If applicable, the Weber County building official shall, on further building requirements, to verify that the structure is to code for the proposed use. The hard surface parking lot is complete or escrowed before a conditional use permit is issued. And with these findings as well. The proposed use is allowed in an agriculture AV3 zone and meets the appropriate site development standards. The criteria for issuance of a conditional use permit have been met because mitigation of potential detrimental effects can be accomplished.
Have a motion, I'll ask for a second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda. Item number 5.2, LVTP 7112825.
consideration and action on a request for preliminary approval of the Taylor Landing Subdivision Phases 7 and 8, consisting of 49 lots, public roads, dedication of public pathways, and a detention pond located at approximately 1900 South, 3850 West in unincorporated Weaver County. Are we, okay. Tammy, you're going to give us a heads up on it first?
No, I'm still not familiar with the format, and so I forget, but I did want to bring up the map at least and share it while the applicant gets up and presents something. So hopefully that's helpful. And then I will have concept plans shown to you later.
Thank you. Mr. Filler Up.
Good evening. Thanks for your time. So Selfly Filler Up on behalf of Heritage Land Development. We're here to ask for approval for Taylor Landing Phases 7 and 8. We last month we got approval of Phase 6, and we were just working on the plans for 7 and 8, and so wasn't able to get on that agenda. But this one's for the remaining 49 lots of the development agreement that was recorded back in June earlier this year, and we believe that the plan is a good one for this area. And I know that there's going to be a couple things that Tammy brings up. We talked about them, and happy to make the changes that we need to on the plans. One of those is on the plans we had, but we didn't put in the curb extensions or the pulled outs for the areas where the pathway crosses the streets. And so we know that there's a deficiency there, and that will be remedied before we request final approval. The other one is the alignment of the pathway connecting Winston Park. When we drew this up, the location of that pathway, we didn't know where it was, and so we put in our best guess. It was more than a guess. We knew roughly where it was going to be, but it was a little bit off in the alignment, and we're going to have to adjust a little bit. We want to bump the pathway a little bit to the north to be a little bit better aligned, and then we'll cross the road at a little bit of a diagonal, but it shouldn't be too much. And that way we can keep the lot sizes appropriate and still connect Winston Park with the park in to the west of Phase 6. So happy to answer any questions that you have.
So the angle on that pathway where it crosses the street, is it just to get to one side of the lot directly across the street or the other side of it?
Yeah.
And about how much offset do you think it is?
I didn't measure the angle, but it's relatively slight. I don't want to. I think Tammy's got a picture, but it shouldn't be too much. I suppose I could do the math real quick if I can remember my geometry, but.
Okay. Commissioners?
I think you addressed the questions I had. We just probably have to follow up with Tammy now. So
Yeah,
thanks, Subway.
Yeah, we'll address those issues with her. We know about them, and we'll remedy it.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners, anything else for the applicant? Okay. We may get you back, but we'll have Tammy go through some stuff with us first. Thank you.
Okay, let me pull up their proposed plat. So first of all, this is 49 lots in the R115 zone. All of the roadways in this development are 60 feet wide and public right of ways. See if I can rotate this for you. Okay, this is Phase 6 here. This is Winston Park here. What's not being shown on their preliminary plan, and I'd have to dig through some of their exhibits to find their pathway exhibit. But I think they've got a pathway that comes in right around here No, maybe it's a little bit further south, and then it drops down and comes across, and you've got to go almost 2 lot widths up to meet up with that pathway on the south side of that connector street. Let me pull up their development agreement. This is their development agreement. This is 6, 7, and 8 right here. This is the pathway connection to Winston Park on the east side. This is more how we would like to see it aligned going to the park. So otherwise, what has been proposed in a conceptual way meets the development agreement. We've got a few issues with the engineered plans that we brought up with the applicant. We're working with engineering to make sure that those engineered plans are in compliance before they can apply for final approval. But one of the conditions, we've got a few conditions in the staff report. One of them is that they submit an exhibit that shows a trail alignment more compliant with the exhibit in their development agreement. Do you have any questions for me? We're asking for things like final approval letters for water and sewer. Let me see, there wasn't really a whole lot outside of the ordinary as far as conditions of approval outside of that, mostly that pathway alignment.
Show me that pathway alignment again, please.
Sure.
I mean, and you can use this map, just let's
Sorry.
cross with the cursor if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, you mean from here, across
Yeah,
here?
Yeah, from Winston Park over
From
to,
Winston
I mean, I
Park.
see the,
Let's go one to more towards.
It's right, it's between here and here. And the way that the applicant has got it, they're coming here, they're dropping it down.
no, okay.
They're bringing it across and bring it back up. I just realized I wasn't sharing the development agreement. Let me share the development agreement here. This is the exhibit in the development agreement. This is Winston Park. And this is really more how this needs to be shown.
Yeah, and 1920 South over here on the west is is in this exhibit.
It is, that's part of phase 6 that was approved in the meeting with Western Weaver last month.
Yeah, and I guess I got confused on what was being presented by the applicant as to an offset. I thought the offset was going to get us, we were going to get a straight shot through there like the MDA defines, and that there may just be an offset to get it to one side of a lot or another. Absolutely, for me, it's got to come straight through there like it's proposed in front of us right now.
Okay. And you can see how it meanders a little bit through the subdivision, but it does tie in directly with that. Now, the applicant has got crossing requirements in their development agreement. And so given the current alignment they have in with us, the angle is so long, that would be a very expensive crossing. It just doesn't make sense to have it that way. Any questions for me?
That answered mine. I had the same concern.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, commissioners? Okay. All right. Anything for the applicant?
As long as it, does it comply with this?
So Tammy, while you're still up there, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
So the conditions that you have listed in this report from the
Yes.
packet that we received tonight covers all of those concerns with the pathway, correct? If I'm
Ye-
reading it right?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I want to make sure.
Yeah.
And then
It
that will
also-
be, you will be able to figure that out with the applicant later on if we do approve this tonight.
Correct.
Okay.
It also covers the deficiencies in the engineered plans that were submitted that don't quite meet the development agreement requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have
Anything
any
else?
other questions for me?
Yeah, anything else, Commissioner? Okay. All right. Commissioners, I'll ask for motion on this item. Okay.
Two, 8, 2, 5. Very approval. Planning, subdivision, basis, 7 and 8 consisted of 49 lots. In the R1-15 zone, based on the proposed plan here. We would count the recommendation for based on conditions and findings outlined in that report.
Any comments on that motion? Okay, I'll ask for a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda. Item number 5.3 LVH 110325. Consideration and action on a request for preliminary approval of Harper Haven Subdivision consisting of 74 lots, public roadways, and dedicated public pathway located in the R1-15 zone at approximately 550 south, 4700 west. Director Grover.
Thanks, Chair. As you review this, you'll just be looking at the code and any agreements that are associated with this, making sure it complies with those. We'll have the applicant present, and then on this one, it looks like Tammy will be presenting. Okay.
Hi, commissioners. I appreciate the time. I won't try to take too much because this project is pretty straightforward. You guys saw the rezone approval and obviously development agreement approval in April. Afterwards, we took the summer to get it approved with the county commission and started working on preliminary. I think the biggest thing to touch on is the north access point. When we talked with you in April, we discussed having more of a right in, right out access. We are still working with UDOT, and we've been working with UDOT for about 18 months, and sometimes their process takes a little bit longer than we'd like. We don't have a definitive answer. We're planning on coordinating a meeting with Weber County Planning and UDOT start of the year to kind of finish out some of those details. One thing that our team was thinking about was making a contingent upon doing one of two options, either receiving an approval from UDOT for a right in, right out access, or the other option would be something similar we did to West Windmill, just south of this project, is finding a secondary access connecting to an adjacent landowner. One thing that we learned from our first project, and that one was a little bit more hamstringed because we couldn't have a secondary access on 4700, was we had to have a second access for, ingress and egress fire purposes. And we would just like the option to continue to pursue with UDOT. We're trying to keep the vision and the dream of what your guys' planning team has created, and would like to try to have two access points because we believe that this area is a core part of the Western Weber plan. And, we'd like to try to see it out in its future vision immediately. And some things need to change for UDOT to kind of accommodate the added density in this area. UDOT wasn't anticipating as much growth as it has. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions, and I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Commissioners. Well, I appreciate that you're willing and wanting to continue to work with UDOT. I'd hate to see that as a crash gate. That's just not what was anticipated there through the process we went through before. So working with other landowners, maybe to go north would, give you your options, but yeah, definitely.
And one thing that we've talked about with planning, and I know Tammy can probably touch on this more, is both us as us as the developer and planning do envision that being an actual access point in the future. With if there's an influx of commercial and added residential in this area, especially with the proposed developments to the west of this road, the speed of that road will slow down and actually accommodate an access point there. And we're 20 feet off of UDOT's minimum spacing requirement. And so as the road slows down, it'll be a lot easier for like that access point from being a crash gate to actually being able to be functional for this neighborhood and obviously the elementary and everything else to the east.
So check before you sit down
Yeah.
then, just to clarify that. So you say you're 20 feet off. If you move this, what's on the plan, the north entrance, if you move that 20 feet, you would meet the requirement?
Yeah, so it's a fun game you have to play because if you move it south, your other access point is now.
Right.
So it's like we did an entire pretty much master plan for UDOT. So from 400 down to the intersection on 12th Street, we did a whole master plan for them. And this is the one access point. And the reason it's such a big problem is UDOT doesn't necessarily understand the development that Black Pine is doing across the street because there's two 500 Souths on the other side of the street that the Black Pine development kind of has in an as is in UDOT's perspective. And so we're trying to help educate them that those access points will be dissolved and it'll connect into 400. And so
I guess, just to clarify, why wouldn't you just move this road, this north entrance 20 feet to the north if that would meet the requirement? Or am I misunderstanding?
so it's the other direction.
So it would have to go.
Yeah.
south.
So then it would conflict with our
Okay.
other access point that is in line with
Okay.
one of your guys' actual
Yeah,
county roads.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and so we've seen UDOT become more and more cautious as time has gone on because usually, having such a small small distance from their minimums, they do allow variances, and we've gotten variances in other cities. We've seen them kind of start to be more cautious as some of those have sprung up or there's a lot of it. There's a lot of things, but UDOT is trying to be extra cautious just for safety, especially with this area booming the way it is. They want to ensure that they don't have problems in the future, like some of the older areas of development.
Anything else?
So this doesn't sound like I'm wondering if you can measure that neighbor to pass something to the nature of
Put that in the motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think is what Chuck was
Yeah, like
suggesting in the beginning, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we as the Holland Group see two options to move forward because ingress and egress is very important. We would like to try to pursue or have some ability to continue working with UDOT for a right in, right out access, and if not, have similar what we did to West Windmill or Alley Farms, however you remember that one, being just have an emergency access on an adjacent property owner's property, and we'd have to improve it to fire code standards. But yeah, I think those are the two most straightforward options because we have 3 adjacent property owners who we could work with on this one, which is a lot easier than what we had on the other one. We didn't really have a lot of options on that one, but thankfully, yeah, everything worked out to the south. Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Just a brief overview here, commissioners. This is a request for preliminary approval of a 74 lot subdivision located in the R115 zone. And as we've mentioned a couple of times this evening, this is subject to a development agreement in addition to any applicable ordinances. The development agreement was recorded in, development agreement was approved by the county commission back in April. And as Trek mentioned, got recorded shortly after, and they've been working on putting together this concept plan. Let me kind of show you what's being proposed here. Oh, sorry, go to the plat. There we go. Okay. This concept plan right here is exactly what was proposed with the development agreement. The development agreement vested them in the number of units as well as this street and pathway layout. So we've got 60-foot, 66-foot wide roadways, both in here. All of these are public roads. We've got pathways that go through here, as you can see. What isn't shown that we'll require on the final set of plans is a pathway here on this half road width. This is 4700 West, and as you know, is slated to be 132 feet wide. 68 and a half of those feet are what will be improved by the developer with this project. We've worked a lot with the developer to try and figure out pathway layout. We did this at development agreement. So a lot of this detail has gone into the development agreement, but I wanted to bring up their recorded development agreement here. Let me see if I can. There's a section in there regarding their emergency or their secondary egress. This is in their recorded development agreement. So one thing I reminded Trek of just a couple minutes ago was that preliminary approval typically is granted for an entire project. Sorry, let me bring this up. However, it's not unusual to phase the final approvals for this. Let's see if this pulls up. You guys see that okay? So according to their development agreement, they're not going to be able to record more than 30 lots at a time anyway. So they can certainly get preliminary approval for everything here tonight. And the Planning Commission absolutely has the discretion to require that the applicant work on a secondary egress out of there. They can continue to work with UDOT while they're phasing this and hopefully getting something either to the east or to the north. Just wanted to bring those up with you. Trying to think if we have any typical requirements would be street trees and landscaping within the public right of way. None of the conditions of approval that are in here outside of the voluntary parks district donation. The rest of them are pretty standard. The applicant worked with the parks district to come up with a $7,500 per lot parks donation. So that would be required prior to final approval. If the applicant decides to phase this for their final approval, they would then just be required to submit the appropriate or the prorated amount, depending on the number of lots in there. Do you have any questions for me?
I have one, Tammy.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the exhibits. And Central Weber Sewer District, the date on that is July 23rd, 2024. Do we need to have an updated letter from Central Weber on this?
We have reached out to all of these. Some of these, a couple of them that got into the staff report are a little bit older. We've reached out to everyone and those still stand. We're just waiting on updated exhibits.
Okay. Okay. And then, yeah, Taylor West Weaver's is over a year old as well,
Mhm.
but you're addressing that. Okay. That was my only question.
I have one quick question,
Yeah.
Tammy. How many lots would be able to be developed in this development before they needed that secondary egress? Is it 30?
30.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, I'll ask for a motion on item 5.3 on tonight's agenda.
Chair, I'll make a motion. So I'd like to make a motion that we recommend preliminary approval of Harper Haven Subdivision consisting of 74 lots. Let me just hurry and state the number. This is item number LVH 110325. This recommendation is based on all review agency requirements, including those outlined in this staff report and the following conditions. Improvement plans compliant with the recorded development agreement shall be approved by the planning and engineering prior to submitting an application for final subdivision approval. Proof of voluntary Parks District donation of $7,500 per lot will be made to the Western Weaver Parks District before the subdivision plat records. This is per the development agreement, and an unconditional final approval letter from the sewer, culinary, and secondary water provider will be submitted before final approval. All improvements shall be installed, escrowed for, or a combination of both prior to recording the final plat. This development will need to annex into Central Weaver Sewer District prior to final approval. And they will need to meet the requirements for a secondary egress before developing any more than 30 lots.
Have a motion? Any comment on the motion? Okay, I'll ask for a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda. 5.4 UVP 111325, consideration and action on a request for preliminary subdivision approval of the Prado at Powder Mountain Subdivision. 38 lot subdivision located in the DRR1 zone located at the end of Summit Pass Road in Eden. Looks like we have Director Grover, go ahead and give us some comments on this.
Thank you. In Powder Mountain, there's a development agreement that's associated with this land. It spells out exactly what type of density can happen in certain areas. And so as staff has looked at this, we prepared a report that's addressed these issues. And the applicants also provided a plan that looks at these issues as well. So as you review this, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. We'll have the applicant present and then Mr. Yavarino will present.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eric Anderson and I'm representing Powder Mountain today. And I'm presenting the Prado.
Come up to the mic just a little closer. Sorry.
That one's really small.
And I'm presenting the Prado at Powder Mountain Subdivision plat. First off, I want to thank you all for your time, Planning Commission. Moving on to the vicinity map that shows where the Prado project area is located. It's the red bubble area. And just to the east of that is the Shelter Hill at Powder Mountain Subdivision plat that was recorded in March of last year. You can see additional roads and additional historical subdivision plats that have been recorded in the past, just to give you context of the location. Moving on to the civil drawings, this subdivision plat includes a total of 38 single-family residential lots. There's the main corridor. You can see the roundabout, and then there's fingers that go up to the north and fingers that go south and southeast. That main corridor road has a 66-foot right-of-way. And then the fingers have a 60-foot right-of-way as well. As you can see on the civil drawings, there are 7 hammerhead locations. And before engineering really started, we met with the Weber Fire District and the fire marshal to confirm their design standards and requirements. All those hammerheads and turnarounds are located at 750 linear feet or less. And then moving on to the next slide is the subdivision plat. It shows 4 single-family residential lots up in the north and 34 down in the south. The lot sizes of these lots range from 1 acre to 4.5 acres. And thank you for your time. And I would like to open up to any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let me grab a few slides of my own. This will give you in just a moment. Okay. Well, we have a request for preliminary subdivision approval. In this case, you can see the area map shows the general location in relation to the incorporation area in yellow. That would be the new Ogden Valley City. And so we'll become a little more familiar as we go along through the next year with some of the resort development proposals, and even some conditional use permits that will come into play. And a lot of these forest areas and resort areas are still under the unincorporated Weber County. And so this is a good opportunity for me to just kind of show some of the things that are applicable in the DRR1, which is designed specifically for resorts. And so the Powder Mountain, obviously one of them, and then the other DRR1 we're looking at is over there in Snow Basin. And there's quite a wide range of uses and abilities that these developments have as far as how they're designed. They could typically they're designed in accordance with a zoning development agreement, which is the case in this. There's also a potential for master development agreements, which kind of help guide the design and the development conditions that as the mountain is built out. And in this case, what you're looking at is the Prado subdivision is all private roads. And so that there's a portion of this road leading into this development, which is called Summit Pass. And that one is public, as is the Wolf Creek Road and then the Powder Mountain Road going straight up the mountain. Those are all public. So those are maintained by the public. In this case, the Prado area will be privately maintained, snow removal, you name it, things like that. They've also, with the slideshow, I'd like to show you some of the open space as well as some of the services. In this case, the services that Powder Mountain has is the Powder Mountain Sewer District, water and sewer. They'll be providing those services for this development. And they've also prepared an emergency evacuation plan. And also, I'd like to share with you some details from the development agreement. And so here is a list of development agreements that apply to the Powder Mountain. What I've included is in chronological order. This will kind of help visualize. We probably have to revisit some of these as the coming year to get a little more familiar with some of these development agreements and some of the I guess the standards that apply to Powder Mountain. And here is the drawing showing the Prado development. And so this area would be subdivided out from that larger piece. So if I go back to that large red piece, the Prado is actually subdivided out. So you have road dedication and you have lot development, which, the extent of these lots would form the new subdivision boundary within that larger parent parcel. And here's an image showing another, just kind of a broader image showing the public roads throughout. You have State Highway 150, public road, Summit Pass Road, again, public. But once you get to further down to this point here, right about Horizon area, Horizon Run, which is where my cursor is, that's where it becomes private. And so the new Shelter Hill that was recently completed is on this side. And then you have the Prado, which is right here.
Felix,
Yes.
is this application just one of what might be defined in the master development agreement of more phases, so to
Yes.
speak, up in this area?
Yes, there will be more development along this stretch of road to continue further south and
Thank you.
And so, one of the things that applies in this circumstance is setting out a concept development plan area. In this case, if we were referring to a development agreement, this area with the red oval indicates where the Prado development is. You're probably thinking, well, why doesn't it look like that? It's because the development agreement allows for some deviations with as far as road design and things like that. What they're really trying to maintain is, the maximum number of lots as well as the maximum, the required amount of open space that's associated with this residential development.
What's the density for this area?
There really is a cap on the number of lots. I think that's what you come down to is there's really no minimum lot area and width. It's really just the max number of units for a select area. In this case, the max number of single family dwellings for the concept area D would be that. It's stated here. Let me see if I can. I need to move this so it looks like 454 units. So they've still got a ways to go, at least in this concept area. You can see they also have some potential for mixed use, commercial services, and multifamily, 150 units. And maybe what I'll do is I'll go back to here showing that some of the safety concerns that would arise if there were an emergency and there is a need for some type of evacuation. That's where the emergency plan comes into play. And so this is put together by the Powder Mountain Group and something that is approved by the fire district. Is you have several safe zones. Those are those red circles. But the first immediate evacuation plan would be to head straight down the mountain to Eden, if possible. If for instance, if they're unable to, get onto the roadways for some reason, maybe the roadways are blocked or something, then they would proceed to these safe zones. And let's see here. Okay, this also shows kind of the greater area in relation to the Prado, and we have.
Felix, can I ask you a question just since you were on the subject of it?
Yes.
So I'm just kind of thinking about this, especially with our previous item with egress and all that. They're asking for 38 lots for this, but that's in addition to what is already existing there, plus the resort that has customers with hundreds of people a day, right? I'm just wondering, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but there's only one entrance and exit out of there, right? The Powder Mountain Road. Okay.
That's right.
Does the emergency plan replace the need for an additional entrance exit?
Yeah, and I'm not sure how to answer that. I know that when this development was zoned and there was a concept plan with that zone change, they showed that with many resort development, you do have one way in. Typically, it's entrance through a canyon. And then at the top of the canyon, you have development. I'm not sure if how to answer that question. If how this development was, this is maybe Rick can shed some light on.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So the biggest issue with exiting is in the summertime. That's when the fire danger is a major issue. That's why right now they have these shelter in place areas, because where the shelter in place areas are, there is no fuel. Now there's limited fuel in those areas. There's not a lot of timber. It's up on the top. And so that's why the fire district has said, these are shelter in place areas to handle, if they can't get out through that area. The fire district has talked to Powder Mountain about another access going out, but at the present time, that would be dirt. And that would be if the fire district sees that as a viable option. Because there is some timber in that area too that could create an issue as well. So the primary issue that the fire district has said is the main access coming in and out, and then those shelter in place areas. As I mentioned in the pre-meeting, they are working on a fire station up in that area, and that would be fully manned. And so that would help as well. So at the present time, we're relying on the fire district to give us the guidance on when that second access should happen. But that second access would not be accessible in the wintertime. It would just be accessible in the summertime.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. I mean, it makes sense. The majority of the resorts in Utah only have one entrance, right? Yeah. Both Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon, they have multiple resorts on them, so, okay.
No, very, very good question. And the density that they have up in that area is based upon the overall development agreement. And so as we bring subdivisions to you, we look at those and make sure that they're in compliance with those development agreements before it even hits your agenda. Also, one thing that we look at a lot with this is making sure that they're just dealing with private roads up in this area. We're working with Powder Mountain at the present time to look at the public roads up in that area, possibly changing over to private or some type of an agreement associated with those, that they maintain those. And right now we maintain them to a certain level, but if it's not meeting their expectations, they pick up the additional slack. Because for instance, our snowplow, I'm probably giving you more information than you want to hear, but our plowers up in that area, they go to a certain time period, but a lot of the residents up in that area are expecting it to be, addressed in the nighttime and things like that. And that's where Powder Mountain picks up the slack on those issues. Because with the winds up in that area, and the snow typically comes in the evening time, that's when we have a snow blower up in that area. When you think of a snow blower, it's not what you use for your driveway. This is a huge piece of equipment that helps keep the road clear when you're shooting it over 12, 15 foot miles of snow.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible the amount of snow they get some years, and you have snow walls lining the streets. Pretty massive. So going on to staff's recommendation is staff does recommend approval of this preliminary subdivision approval for the Prado subdivision with those conditions in the report. These conditions would more come into play when they come back for final approval. And we would be looking at a cost estimate for the subdivision improvements, roadways, typical things that are included, as well as the subdivision improvements that are not complete at the time when they're ready to record would need to be escrowed with the county. The cost of those improvements would be escrowed. And there are some final requirements, I guess, preliminary review comments that the planning staff would ensure are addressed before they move on to final approval.
One quick question, I just noticed, it might not be a big deal, but in the findings, it says the proposed subdivision conforms to the Ogden Valley general plan. Would that need to be changed to Weber County general plan?
No, at the
Still-
current time, it's still Ogden Valley. We will be bringing a plan before you in the next year that will be just dealing with the Weber County general plan. It'll include the areas outside of the incorporated area and then everything on the west side.
Okay.
So it'll just be, and it may just be an addendum So there's not gonna probably be a lot of public input on those. There will be some, but it'll just be taking what currently is there and just combining.
Great, thank you.
Right. Thank you, commissioners.
Commissioners, anything else? All right, I'll ask for motion.
You guys sick of hearing me yet?
Never.
Yeah, right. All right, Chair. I'll take a stab at this one too. I'd like to recommend a preliminary approval for item number UBP 111325. Preliminary approval of the Prado at Powder Mountain subdivision with the following conditions. The final subdivision plan shall include a cost estimate for the subdivision improvements. The costs for subdivision improvements that are not complete at the time of plat recordation shall be escrowed with Weaver County. All county review agency requirements are satisfied before the final subdivision plat is recorded. And then including these findings, the proposed subdivision conforms to Ogden Valley General Plan. With the recommended conditions, the proposed subdivision complies with all previous approvals and the applicable county ordinances. The proposed subdivision will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare. The proposed subdivision will not deteriorate the environment of the general area so as to negatively impact surrounding properties and uses.
Thank you. Any comments? I'll ask for a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item. Next item on our agenda, item number 5.5. DR 2025-16. Request for design review approval for a wastewater treatment facility for the Nordic Valley area, located at approximately 3651 Nordic Valley Road in Eden. This is located in the form-based FB zone in Ogden Valley. Okay, Director Grover.
Thank you, Chair. As you review this, you're going to be looking at the existing zones that are in place and development agreements associated with this. The form-based zone has certain architecture standards and requirements that they need to meet. And so the applicant, we've been working with him on making sure that they're in compliance with these. So we'll have the applicant present and propose what he's requesting in this area and how it is meeting those requirements. And then Ms. Aydelotte will explain from the county side where we are with those.
Thank you, Director. Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Eric Langvart. I'm the owner of Langvart Design Group, land planner for the Nordic Village project. We also have Brad Rasmussen here, who's the principal and lead engineer on the project. So if there are any questions that get too technical, I'm going to call a friend. So, and I know this is maybe a little bit new to this group, but so I'll give you a little bit of history. And as Rick started out, the form-based code and how that works. And I know you guys have that on the Western Weber side. This is a proposal for a wastewater treatment plant that is an allowed use within our project, as it is adjacent to a multifamily residential street type. Actually, in our development agreement, this is an allowed use next to every street type. Perfect. Thank you. Tammy's got me covered. So this is a good orientation. So Nordic, the mountain is here. The old barn that burned down sits about here. Nordic Valley Way, moving north to south. We actually have relocated that road as part of our development process. And this is the northeast corner of our project. And you can see this street stub that comes in here is the street that we are accessing the wastewater treatment plant facility off of. Sorry, Tammy, was that just down or? It's right there. Right there. So as we zoom in here, this is the northeast corner of the property. This is a future road, Pine Mare Drive, that is an application, and our access coming off of that Pine Mare Drive is this 24-foot easement that comes in here and then would loop around the first building, the MBR building, and then would also serve to get access down to the RO building. So as we got into the design of this, and again, this is an allowed use, we're here to talk through setbacks and lot standards and architecture and landscaping, primarily parking. But one of the things that we wanted to do was make sure that, you know, this ideally in Brad's perfect world would have been in one big building. And as we got to looking at it, we felt like if there was the opportunity to break it into two buildings, we thought that that was an advantage to the community and to our project. It made them two smaller buildings, sort of an agricultural complex, so to speak, two buildings and a couple silo tanks that I think set on the site a lot better. One of the things I want to point out is that we do have a 100-foot setback here that you can see to our eastern neighbors that has been preserved through our development agreement process. And then we actually moved the buildings even further west from that. So we didn't put them right at that 100-foot setback line. We wanted to give a little bit more buffer there. And I think it's about 130 to 140 feet from our neighbors and to the corner of the building. The other thing we did was we oriented them so that no single long wall was directly parallel to our neighbors. So you can see where we've angled them. All those little things just help to make this fit in the site better. And we think that, you know, being good neighbors with that. We're proposing 6 parking stalls here and then a landscape buffer that is primarily located through this corridor where there are not existing trees. We're proposing between that and up against the building 53 trees, a combination of cottonwoods and evergreens. And the evergreens are going to range from 8 to 12 feet tall, so they exceed the minimum requirements. Our clients and the developers felt that was extremely important to go above and beyond from the landscape screening standpoint. I think that touches on, you know, we meet all of the setbacks within the development standards. I think we meet the height requirement for the building. We think that the architecture, and maybe I'll let Tammy share the architecture. We think that the architecture meets the modern alpine motif, and that you know, actually is probably one of the nicer wastewater treatment facility buildings, or combination of buildings that you'll see. I'll let Tammy take it from here, unless you guys have questions for me before I sit down.
Commissioners?
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna probably dump a lot of information on you because this is a resort development, and I realize that many of you are not quite as familiar as some previous planning commissioners have been. So I'm gonna kind of switch screens here a little bit. This project is located within the Nordic Resort Development, the Nordic Village area. It is located in the form-based zone, which means it has a street regulating plan that governs the development along these streets. So these are the 2 parcels that will be part of this project. The site is here, located in this northeast corner. And I'm going to go back to sharing this street regulating plan here real quick, just to give you a little more detail. So this is the Nordic Village Street Regulating Plan. The developers actually amended this. This only applies to their development. This doesn't govern the entire area. But this street here, this is a multifamily residential street type within the form-based zone. So I'm going to give you just kind of some development standards along that street type They don't have a minimum area, but they do have a minimum width, lot width along there of 12 feet. Their minimum front setback is 5 feet and their minimum front setback is 5. Their maximum front lot setback is 10. Now that I'm looking at that, I need to make sure that goes with that street type. They don't have any minimum side and rear setbacks, nor do they have a maximum lot coverage area. And they don't have a maximum height. They are vested in the form-based zone that was part of their first amendment to their development agreement. We have made changes to that ordinance since then, so they are grandfathered in. However, when we look at design review or site plan review, planning staff has already determined before we even take the application in whether or not the use is compliant with zoning. And this is a permitted use in the form-based zone, a wastewater treatment facility. When we look at design review, we're looking at things like landscaping, traffic access. We're looking at buildings and site layout, and we're looking at any signage if there's a signage plan. Applicant has not proposed one with this. Let me go back to the site plan here. Here's the site plan that Eric went through with you. He's shown you where the access is going to be from this roadway that will likely be recorded here in the next week or two. Let me show you what the building facades that were submitted with this application were not compliant. So we reached out to the applicant and we said, hey, we need something that fits more of the modern alpine architecture is what is in the form-based zone. So this is what has been submitted to us. These are the two structures here. You can see a lot of the buffering over here. I'm going to give you a few different angles. They're proposing a maximum height of 35 feet on this building here. This is more of that architecture. You've got some stone, you've got some timber work here. These two water towers in between. I think we've got one more angle of this. And on this other building, you've got a taller height if you include the highest point of up to 46 feet. Pathways around it. Let me see if there's anything else kind of to note. Again, the landscaping plan shows 53 trees starting at around 8 feet tall that they want to plant in between their site and the neighbors to the east. And let me share with you what that neighborhood looks like. It's an older neighborhood, so these houses have been around for a bit. Oh. Let me turn off our planning layer here. Sorry, guys. Okay, this is the site. This is where it will be located here. And you can understand I'm sure there would be natural concerns from adjacent neighbors. The developer, again, has proposed some standards that go above and beyond what the ordinance would call for when it comes to developing in this area. And so looking at their building elevations, looking at how they match up with that modern alpine architecture, staff feels that most certainly meets what is in the ordinance. We've looked at access, we've looked at setbacks. Staff doesn't have really any concerns with this project. I will draw your attention to the staff recommendations, though, at the end of your staff report with this. When the report was put together, we hadn't had items 4 and 5 addressed. Since that time, we have had those 2 items addressed. And we will make sure that everything that's been shown in here is part of the public record. We would like Weber County Engineering and Weber Fire District, who are going to look at access as well as other things. We'd like them to issue approval in Frontier, which they haven't done so quite yet, before we will issue written approval of this. I'm assuming that the applicant will likely need written approval as they're going to be part of the new city here in the next few weeks. Do you have any questions for me?
I asked you this in the pre-meeting, but just to clarify, make sure. So everything that we have from the applicant now and what is in your packet, you're satisfied with and meets the requirements you're looking for.
Correct. They've addressed all of our concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, commissioners? I'll ask for a motion.
Chair, I'll make a motion. Before I start the motion though, Director Grover, is it appropriate for me to read all of the conditions and all of the findings, or can I just say as listed in the report?
Either way is fine.
Okay,
It's nicer to have you read them so that it's clear in the minutes.
okay,
But if you don't, we'll still get them.
okay. Just trying to save you all from hearing my voice any longer, so. Chair, I'd like to recommend, as it's stated in our report, a heavily conditioned approval for item number DR 2025-16. This recommendation is a design review application for a wastewater treatment facility for the Nordic Village area. This recommendation for approval is subject to all review agency requirements and the following conditions. Weber County Engineering and Weber Fire District shall issue approval prior to written approval of this application. Any exterior signage shall be approved by planning prior to installation. Any exterior lighting shall be dark sky compliant. A more detailed site plan showing how this this one we don't need anymore, correct, Tammy? Sorry, okay. 4 and 5 was already addressed. Okay. Then with the findings, the existing use conforms to the Ogden Valley General Plan. The existing use will not cause harm to the natural surroundings if all staff recommendations are followed. The existing use is staffed. If staff conditions are imposed, will comply with applicable county ordinances. And the existing use, if staff conditions are imposed, will not deteriorate the environment of the general area so as to negatively impact surrounding properties and uses.
Thank you. Any comments on the motion? Okay, I'll ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda. Approval of the 2026 calendar, and Director Grover and I talked about this within the last week or two. And the conversation was, could we move the meetings to the first and second the second being on the months where we have two, but consistently the first Tuesday of every month, and then the second Tuesday for the subsequent 2 meeting months. So that's all good with everybody. If you've had a chance to look at it or not, we have a proposed calendar in front of us. Director Gober, I'll let you address that.
Yeah, we were looking at building availability, and then also staff time and then your time as well. And when we were looking at things with holidays and that, it kind of worked a little better to do the first and the second, but we're not opposed to doing
That's fine.
the third. And we could do the fourth because we've historically done the fourth with the Ogden Valley, but where you guys have been doing the first and the second, we just thought it'd probably be best just to kind of not mess with your schedules too much. So that's the rationale.
Okay. Anything else, commissioners? All right. We got a motion to approve that? I guess we
just a roll call.
Roll call. Yeah, I'll, just a
Yes, sir.
yes or no? Through everybody or just
Just together.
All right. Everybody in favor of approval of the 2026 calendar? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, or approval carried. Public comment on items not on our agenda from tonight.
I'm Jan Fulmer from Eden, and I live within the boundary of the newly incorporated Ogden Valley City. which we're very proud to say. It has taken us 4 years to go through the process, but we did it. May I ask for clarification? Are all of you from Western Weber County, with the exception of Sarah, who's from a small unincorporated area down by Uinta?
That would be correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure of that because we really didn't know who you were until today. So, but what I would like. What?
Not yet.
Come to this side of the mountain once in a while.
There is a copy for the recorder, so it can be recorded in the minutes. But we do not have, you had 4 items on your agenda that fall within the boundary of our new city. And we have had no representation on your committee tonight, which is very unfortunate. And also it creates perceptions that, as I told Rick Grover, it's very hard to manage perceptions. But I would just like to share with you some information. I know you will be getting other things to evaluate in Ogden Valley outside of the incorporated city boundary. But if I could, please just share this with you. I'd really appreciate it. I'd like to note a few general facts regarding Ogden Valley, specifically relating to the area within the boundary of our new Ogden Valley city. First of all, sewage. Issues existed in the valley with well and reservoir pollution from sewage systems. In late 1998, the Weber Morgan Health Department mandated that a home, a well, and a septic system could no longer be on 1 acre. They changed that to a minimum of 3 acres, which wasn't popular because people lost development rights. And the last I talked to Summer Day in the Weber Morgan Health Department, they are looking at making that 5 to 6 acres for a minimum. We do have a problem with sewage. Weber County has had some oversight on responsibilities on sewage systems in unincorporated areas. 2 formal studies were actually completed in Ogden Valley, one in 2011 and another one around 2020. Both studies indicated that caution on continuing to use septic systems, leach fields, sewage ponds, etc., that there was a need to look into development of sewage treatment facilities in the valley. Now, at this time, there was only one, and it was a state-of-the-art sewage treatment facility, which was Wolf Creek Water and Sewer. And it is also a major water company for one of the most densely populated areas in the valley. After 14 years, Weber County finally just recently took a step to potentially address the sewage situation by submitting an RFP to find out how much it would cost to send Ogden Valley sewage over the mountains to be processed somewhere over in Western Weber. That sounds like a monumental task, but we're going to have to wait and see how much is that going to cost. There should be a response to this RFP shortly. You just reviewed a Nordic Valley ski area proposal for a sewage treatment plant. That's positive. That's what it is, I believe, wastewater treatment. In any event, that is not for the resident communities in the valley. It's for a 500+ development unit next to the Nordic Valley Ski Resort. And the majority of those development units are approved to do short-term rentals. Water. There is a real crisis in Ogden Valley. There is insufficient water and sewage treatment to support all of the projected development. An extensive Ogden Valley water study was published in 2023 that was funded by the Weber Basin Water Conservancy District, and there were several solutions proposed by this study. All solutions were very costly, and they would likely have to be addressed by developers. Despite recommendations from the Ogden Valley Planning Commission and strong objections from the Ogden Valley community, Developer plans for very large developments were approved, and there was absolutely no commitment for water and sewage processing at the time of the approval. And we understand county doesn't have to get involved with that. They just have to look at the development, but forget about two of the basic necessities that have to be there. Developers proceeded to move dirt around, construct infrastructure, and now they have proceeded to demand water from two of the largest water companies in the valley, serving the most densely populated areas. These water companies had no water to allocate. What has resulted? There are now multi-million-dollar lawsuits against the two major water companies by these developers. What's happened is our water rates have more than tripled, our base water rates. And the people who are the customers of these two water companies are now paying for all the legal fees. For the last 2 years, we have had an eyesore in one of the most densely populated areas of the valley, where a developer has simply to continue to move, dig, and pile dirt, and still has not obtained water for the development. It also has to be said that the communities within Ogden Valley City do not want to stop development. There's been some myth, oh, we want to stop development. That is not the case. You cannot stop development. Rather, they want to have development that is smart, well-planned, affordable, and sustainable. And sustainable is a very key word. What has been proposed is not sustainable right now. We don't have the natural resources for it. I will also tell you that I've always watched the Western Weber County Planning Commission. I've seen all the rezones that you have approved. Congratulations. But for your planning purposes, you know exactly what's going to go there. R15 single-family homes, multifamily homes, maybe some apartment styles. For planning, you know exactly what's going there. We have been subject to the form-based zone. It defies any logic in our valley to try and do any planning. But thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else?
Oh. Mentioned Powder Mountain development approved upon top. You know, I haven't come to a lot of commission meetings and stuff and really followed what you guys have heard and stuff, but you know, talking about the road, I live on 5100 East, which is Powder Mountain Road. I've lived there, it'll be 50 years in April. I'm probably the senior resident as far as living in that community. So last week we was here with the planning commission about the parking that they wanted to build, but the road situation is just basically what I want to mention is the amount of traffic. And I'm sure you guys have heard it, how bad it gets and can get in the winter where cars can be backed up. And last week it was brought up, you know, well, maybe we need a stoplight or what are we going to do to control the amount of traffic? I mean, 50 years ago, Patio Spring Road, Little Lane, going up through there. So I've lived through what is now like just a major, I call it a freeway highway, constant traffic. So any of these developments, things that are approved, you know, it just adds to the traffic. And I wonder, well, why don't they ever go out into Cache Valley? You know, I mean, it's a pretty straight shot. It wouldn't be half as dangerous. You guys have probably heard things over the years that, like I say, I haven't been to meetings, so I don't know if there isn't any other way they can actually get traffic off of that, you know, Powder Mountain Road. And anyway, so I just wanted to mention that. So,
well, thank you. Can you give us your name so we can put it on the record?
Peterson.
Did you get that, Mona?
Orville.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Thanks.
Good evening. Excuse me, my name's Gary Fulmer. I live in Eden, soon to be Ogden Valley City, I presume. I want to thank you for your attention. This is kind of a delicate time right now. We have you who have legal authority over the valley as far as zoning and planning, et cetera, and yet we'll have a new city soon with our own planning commission. And it was noted in this morning's commission meeting by Commissioner Froerer and Commissioner Harvey that it's a delicate time. And many of these things that come up were tabled this morning because of recognition of the city commission and the planning commission in the city. So like I say, there are issues that come up, there were two today, that actually are in the new city. So I realize you didn't really vote and make them, but you were in consideration. There are other issues that will come up before you. One has to do with Powder Mountain. We heard from Powder Mountain about the new development they want to put up there on top. Well, that's fine. That's out of the city. That's out of the city's control. It's under your control. But what comes down the mountain, the sewage, et cetera, flows into the city. And that's under the city's control. So I do have some documentation on this. There were two letters that were sent out to you, and Commissioner Bolus basically suggested I bring them to you in person to make sure you see them. The first one is from a Jim Bird, who is a resident of Eden Valley. He would be here tonight, but his wife's having oral surgery. Not a good time to be away from your wife. So I have his letter, and he basically outlines 4 items that are relevant to the city, that you've already seen 2 of them, but he's suggesting you put them on hold until the city can work. Okay. And I think that's a fair deal. That's kind of what the commission did this morning. The other one is a little more serious. This is from, let's see, what's his name? Jim Hall, who happens to live over underneath the existing sewage ponds for Powder Mountain. Now, you may not know this, but all the wastewater from the Powder Mountain development flows over the mountain divide out of Cache County into Weber County and down to these sewage ponds in our valley. These sewage ponds are and will be in the city. There are some requirements for how far away they are from certain things. And the request coming from Powder, which you haven't seen yet, is for a big expansion of these sewage ponds. Again, I think this is a city issue. It is my opinion. You have the legal authority to do what you want. I acknowledge that. But ethically, I'm not sure. So I have these 2 letters that were sent to you. You may have already seen them, but I'll pass them out again just to make sure you do. And I appreciate your time and your concern for our valley and our new city. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? I think we've exhausted the public. Okay. All right. The next item on our agenda, if I can find it. Remarks from the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you can't.
I've spoke a lot today, so I apologize. I just want to say I appreciate the public comments. We like to see people here engaging in their community and voicing their opinions. Some of the stuff I personally can't clarify, but there's a few things, like we didn't approve anything today. All we did is set a recommendation for the commissioners to approve. So go voice your opinion with them as well, is what I'm saying, is to continue doing what you feel is necessary. Yeah, we understand your concerns. We've had some of those same concerns in ours, and I feel like we take that into consideration. And I guess some of the stuff in your letter is going to be addressed by your new city, right? So I feel like it is, that's all gonna be taken care of with the way you all voted and got your new city. So congratulations. I think that'll be good for you to have that voice that you wanted. And then other than that, I think the last comment I wanted to make was an easy one, and it's just to welcome Kyle again, just to the commission, and thank you for being willing to get on and do this. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else?
I got a couple. I'd like to ditto what Casey just said about the citizens input in the government. Very vital. It makes medicine, makes better everything. So keep doing what you do. Well, may not get you over the bridge. Second thing, and the University of Utah Architectural Fair out at the high school. And you know what? It was very well worth following. I thought that in my mind's eye, I've always thought that, you know, people are lacking to that area, but I thought there were a bunch of young kids from you with their instructors. I think that they're on the track to how to maybe work on some of the problems that are bothering our society today. With housing that actually works for people. Good housing that to where that they can work and live in our community and not have to make another. I thought that was really, to me, the more I thought about it, the better. And so I said, Jim, it was worth the outliers. Andrew was there, and a friend was there. All I heard was good talking.
Yeah.
That was great. The other thing, I think that maybe I want to postpone. Because I need to think about it. Because I want to get back on it. I know that I've been talking quite a bit about this idea of having homes of people. The benefit of that. Some of the planning training is that, you know, if you rent your life, you may be lucky to have 60 grand. And if you own a home, it's over 300. Keep thinking about that. That means a lot in the community. So I've embarked on my little crusade of reading wherever I can find information on these kinds of programs to develop this housing. So from time to time, my baby is going with it. That's all I got. Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you.
We promised to get them.
Usually, not always.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And just to add on to what Wayne said about the housing open house, you know, it's kind of interesting how something that starts out as a class project can grow possibly into something that's much more. And there's a ton of potential for what was presented. I think that if they wanted to take what they presented to another level, they would have gotten their counterparts over at the Huntsman Business School and got them to start putting some numbers to what they were proposing so that they could get that in front of where the rubber hits the road, where it could be maybe possibly turn into something, because it was very well done, but it was just one part of the pie of what it would take to have something like that go forward. But anyway, they did a great job, and it was very well done. And thanks, Kyle. You'll you're in for a lot. So good for you for taking it on. Appreciate you. Anything else, commissioners?
I have one more thing that came to mind that I was going to say earlier. I apologize, but it was just about, it was mentioned from the public, the Powder Mountain Road. I just wanted you to, it might not give you comfort, but I know that the planners are working diligently to find other accesses and make that possible that way and to improve that. So I know it's definitely on their agenda. So yeah. Just wanted to say that.
State road.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a bottleneck. Right now, it's the only way up and the only way down. And for safety issues, you gotta ask, what are we gonna do? A couple of years ago, there was a major gas main break right on SR 158, where there was a T intersection. All the kids were let out of school. The parents were called to come pick up their kids. They couldn't get there. They could not get out there. My husband and two other neighbors took our SUVs and we plowed through fields to make a path. It was a very, very scary situation. It's one road.
That's good to hear. There's Albert Stevens.
Okay. Anything else, commissioners?
I'll quickly just say thank you all for the warm welcome. Excited to join, and you know, a lot of the comments that have been made are the reason that I decided to join. You know, I care about my community as well, and care about all of unincorporated Weber County. So keep fighting like you guys are, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Very good. Director Grover.
I just appreciate you guys, your professionalism and how you handle meetings and decorum. Just thank you. Appreciate you guys coming prepared to the meetings and that. So that's greatly appreciated. We're excited for the new city. We're so happy for you, and I look forward to seeing all the great things that you'll do up in the valley. So congratulations. But other than that, I don't have anything.
Are you going to speak for Liam?
No comment.
There you go.
We
Perfect.
said that we were gentlemen and professionals in the same day.
In the same breath almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll take a motion. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.